Hey everyone, it's Jess from Pinecone Papers, and today I wanted to give a brief overview and just a little flip through of how I use my bullet journal for chronic illness planning. If you're not familiar with the term bullet journal, it's basically a method of planning that was created by a man named Ryder Carroll, and I really recommend heading over to Ryder's site just to get more information about it. You can also pick up his book, which is awesome, and it really goes through the philosophy behind the method. You can find links to all of this below. For me, I do use a lot of the bullet journaling methods that Ryder explains, but I also just kind of mix in a bunch of other things and some elements that I've created or that I've seen and gotten inspiration from. I lay out my planner in 4 basic concepts. The first one is for productivity, which is basically how a lot of people use planners. I use it to organize my life and to keep me on task. The second concept is around reflecting and recording. I need a place to process and understand what's happening in my life and in my illness. The third concept is around tracking for trends. This is probably the most common thing that I do in my planner. I want to see how my treatments are working and how my symptoms affect my life. And lastly, I use it for control and comfort. I explore different ways to cope and have more control over my life while living with a very unpredictable illness. So let's look at examples of each of these concepts. Each month, I start with a simple timeline of important dates and events. This is mostly for big things that you might put on your calendar at the very beginning of the month. It's not for appointments and for other little tasks and things. So, for example, you can see that I have when my kids are coming home from summer break from college, and I have a concert that my youngest son is having, I have Mother's Day, I have a trip that's going to happen, and things like that. That's really all it's for. On the other side, I have a running task list that categorizes each task that I'm doing for the month. I have a few categories at the top in an Alistair method, and I also have a column for when I've completed it. And basically, I just take these tasks and I move them over to my weekly layout. So the weekly pages are where I work from each day. I pull tasks over from the list that I just showed you and I put them in this task section depending on how I'm feeling and what I know I can get done. The third column here is for Plan B activities in case my lupus flares up and I can't attend an event or complete a task. Rather than completely canceling my whole day, I have an alternative available, and that helps me feeling more productive and positive about my life. If you subscribe to my email newsletter in the description below, you can download a printable of this weekly layout and it'll give you a little more information about how Plan B works. So this is also where I do my daily planning. So each morning I come in and I have daily tasks and activities that I put in, or at night I come in and I put in a couple of things a couple of days ahead of time, but I really don't get ahead of myself because each day is going to be different. I also keep a couple of notes on things that did happen or just little memories that I want to have in there. And speaking of notes, I also have a notes section here where I talk a little bit more about maybe how I'm feeling that week or anything that's happening. I have changes here for any medication or treatment changes, and then I also have just a basic meal planning section. So let's talk a little bit about reflecting and recording things. So a huge part of finding joy in my life comes from fully understanding my illness and making sure that I'm being mindful and reflective. So here's a few examples of that. This is what I'm just calling sporadic journaling. What I really love about using a blank journal is that you have complete freedom to do whatever you want and wherever you want. So generally after my weeklies, I have a space for journaling and I don't have to journal every day. I used to think I had to journal every day, and now I understand I really don't have to journal every day. I usually only journal when I'm processing something or I want to remember something and I want to read about it later. I also have another section for gratitude and celebrations, And I find this to be one of the most important parts of my planner because I really think it's important to, come back and count your blessings every day and, record your celebrations. It's just a way to be pushing back on any negative feelings and reminding yourself that you really have some great things happening in your life. This also helps me when I'm looking back through the month, and this is a section that I do at the end of every month where I just kind of write out a very quick little spread about my memories for the month, and then I also do a reflection. And this is really one of the more important pieces for going into the next month. It really helps me celebrate what went well, but also be honest about what maybe didn't go so great. So I think that this really helps me for setting goals for the next month. Tracking also plays a really big role in my planning because I have lupus and it's very unpredictable. I have a lot of sporadic symptoms, so I need to stay on top of what's going on. This is my yearly tracker of flares, and generally I get about 3 to 4 months out of every journal, and so usually I have to make this little page, for the next journal, which is fine. Sometimes I just copy it and also paste it into the next one because I can't really get the whole year on one page and have all the information that I want. But basically, I just have a short list of any symptoms that I had during that flare, as well as any significant treatment changes. And then I just have this little tracker over here that shows like how long each flare was. And I also have several habit trackers that I use. This is just 2 habit trackers. I actually have a lot more than this, but this is just a really good example. It's something that you might find in any planner, but you can also track things like physical therapy exercises, specific diet changes, and other things that might directly impact your illness. My most popular blog post over the years has been about my flare symptom tracker. This printable has been downloaded over 1,000 times, and in my own life, it is the planner page that I look at the most. You can see much more about this tracker in another video that I've linked in the description. This layout tracks and graphs symptoms, medication, self-care habits, all in one place so that you can see the whole picture together, which really helps you spot trends and how everything's relating to one another. So lastly, I just want to show you these 2 trackers that I also have specifically for chronic illness. And the first one is appointments. I use my phone calendar app to keep track of actual appointment dates, but this layout helps me keep track of the notes that I took during or immediately after my appointment. And this other page is for treatments. It shows the current medications, therapies, and other treatments that I'm on. This is really just a reference page so that I can just see it all in one place. Lastly, I use my planner for comfort and to have a little bit of control in my life. So the first thing I want to show here is goal setting. It's really important and it's a very positive way that I use my planner. On this page, I have 2 goals for the month that are written in the SMART format. And throughout my planner, I have a lot of goals listed in different formats. It just serves to keep me feeling on track and feeling like I have a sense of accomplishment. I also create a lot of mind maps to have as reference pages and to really reinforce the concepts. Basically, when you write something down in your planner or your journal, it really helps to sort of seal it in your mind later. I've really had a lot of like aha moments while making these layouts, and I cover those a bit more later. So lastly, I like to add a lot of quotes and affirmations to my planner, partly because of the reinforcement that I just talked about, but also because they really give me a good sense of joy and empowerment when I'm flipping through my planner. And it's also really nice to, break pages up. I really like this one about unpredictability because my illness is very unpredictable. So that was a quick walkthrough of the 4 concepts that I base my planning around and just some examples in each of those categories. I really hope it gives you a sense of what planning with a chronic illness looks like for me and I hope it sparked some ideas for you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you have any questions or you'd like me to go into more detail on any of the areas that I just flipped through. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the description below to sign up for my email newsletter for free printables and other ideas. I'll see you next time.